Okay, here goes. And of course, the timing I set aside to finally make this video, and it is pouring rain outside, and it's all I can hear. So we're gonna see if you can hear my voice. All right, I've always made videos for Facebook and for my business and for my kids and family. It's really been on my heart through a lot of prayer over the last couple months. How can I make, I think, one of the most tragic things to happen in my life so far, at 41 years of age, into something positive? I'm going through a divorce this year. It's almost finalized, and most people, I guess I really didn't think about it, don't realize that that's what I went through this year. I still get a lot of shocked, oh, I thought everybody moved to South Carolina. I didn't realize that it happened, and it's been very supportive and kind. And then there are a lot of friends that I've lost or I left behind that never got an explanation as to where I went and why it happened. As I have navigated this very stressful journey this past year, you know, social media is such a big outlet for all of us, but especially for me. I work a lot of my business through social media. I keep in touch with a lot of my family all over the country through social media, and I have some of my closest friends in the world live all over the country, and so I use social media for that. What I realized going through this past year is that social media can be so negative. We seem to live to want to tell our plight and to, I don't know, it seems to be very easy to get into a woe is me place in life when you use social media as your outlet to go through something very negative and upsetting in life. And I found myself searching, where do I find something good? How I couldn't even post. I couldn't even read social media for a very long time. It was so depressing. And then you add in this election year, and woo! It was a bad place for me, emotionally, spiritually, and I really stayed away from it physically. But the truth is, I've got to get back to life. I've got to get back to business. I've got to get back to my friends, my family. It's just, that's the way it is. So upon praying over that, within 24 hours, I had a handful of friends that I hadn't spoken to in a while come out of the woodwork that were going through the exact same thing that I've been going through this past year. And it just hit me, wow, you know, there's too many of us. We're going through loss, and we're going through tragedy, and we're going through really painful times. And we don't know what to hold on to. We don't have the assurance that it's going to be okay or it's going to get better. So I navigated a huge part of this journey very quietly, very alone. It was the saddest time in my life. And I don't want everybody to feel that way. I feel like we have to have something to hold on to, because as I approach my 1 year, I can tell you, gosh, there's a light, and there is something at the end of that journey. And if you do it right, and we don't do all things right, especially when we're in pain and grief and anger, we don't do things right. So we need to know that even if we don't do everything right, there is still a purpose coming out the other end. And so I just decided I'm going to start chronologically journaling some of this process, and I'm going to share it, and not the negative. I'm going to share the positive, and I'm going to share those moments that happen when we feel so alone. And I'm hoping that maybe somebody out there will realize they're not. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go into details about why I got divorced. What I will say is that marriage is not easy. Being a family is not easy. Taking care of children and life is just not easy. It's not supposed to be. But I will tell you right now, although it's kind of always a precarious situation, especially when a lot of stresses are happening, they say that you can count on one thing. It's very interesting. I heard it this past week at conference, every 6 to 9 months, we are almost guaranteed that every single person on the planet is going through some type of life change, whether it be a big life change that's good or a big life change that is traumatic or negative. And when I really started to think about that, it's so true. Think about it. How often does it take 6 months to get a diagnosis and to lose a loved one? How often do we find out, we're pregnant and 9 months later you have a new human being in your life? We get engaged and within 9 months to a year, we have a new life. We get divorced. And I'm going to tell you right now, it takes a good year just to even get your head wrapped around that. Probably takes another year probably for everything to settle into place. That's what I'm learning. It takes 6 months to get comfortable at a job. It takes 6 months to work through heartache after losing a job you love. 6 to 9 months makes a lot of sense to me, and I really feel in those final 3 months from the 9 to 12 month mark is when we should be able to circle out of it and find the good in it, or whatever was going to be made from it. So that's where I'm going to focus on. I will tell you that there was another couple that claimed to be Christians, and we thought how awesome it was going to be to have good friends in our lives. And I'm going to tell you, there was a chink in our armor, and I don't believe there's anything Christian about them. Satan can use people too. And somehow they found, it's just the truth, they found all of our weak spots and blew our security, our network, our faith. And I think what at the time was our love for each other to pieces. It's amazing. So just like someone can come into your life and bring the light, people can come into your life and bring the absolute freaking darkness. Be very, very careful who you let into your life. And if at any time things aren't feeling right, take that as a clue that they're not, and to remove those people from your life immediately. And I would never say that about another family, except sadly, 6 months afterwards, I learned that they had simultaneously done the same thing to another marriage, to another family. I'm not talking about adultery or anything like that, but I'm talking about other things like feeding off addictions and feeding off of fears and learning to manipulate and just blowing people apart. So it's amazing that 2 people claiming to be Christian can come in to 2 different families' lives and literally however that works. You're not strong enough, you're not ready for it, you don't see it coming. Next thing you know, everything's just kind of tumbling down. So that's the most detail I'm going to kind of give about that. Rick and I have worked very hard and are finally coming into a good place over where we're at now. But I'd like to tell you the journey about how we got here, how I got here, and what it's been like to help my children get through a complete life change. Their lives will never be the same. That's the sad part that I think most of us need to hear about, because I have worked my ass off to find the good. I've worked my ass off to bring back the light, and I have worked my ass off to even come back to, I feel like, an emotional place where I can think again and be well and be the me I used to be. And I'm just going to say it, I'm going to make damn sure when all of this is said and done that myself, anybody else in my life, my children, that we all come out 10 times better in the end.